Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Game Bros Station. It's just Matt and Mark today because we locked Jared in a broom closet. Fittingly enough, because today's Ducktales episode is called Day of the Only Child. Wait a minute. Only child.
You forgot one.
One of us is going to get locked in the broom closet by the time this episode's done recording, folks. That's the
right.
kind of hard-hitting podcasting you've come to expect.
Place your bets on which one that'll be.
Yeah, Vegas bets are now open. Probably not by the time you're listening to this.
Yeah, that's true. Let's get to the episode, Mark.
Let's get to that. Welcome to episode 16. As we said, Day of the Only Child. Huey, Dewey, and Louie, mostly Dewey, decide to have an only child's day where, they're still triplets, but they just do things separately. But, I mean, haven't we kind of already had episodes where they're kind of doing their own things?
I mean, that's the funny thing. Like, I know you're going over the synopsis, but in most previous episodes, whenever they had adventures, their personalities would shine through of their individuality, where one is lazy, the other is adventurous, and the other one is just like
Neurotic.
a little bit more
Obsessive compulsive.
I was gonna say kind of like tries to like find other things. I'm still trying to figure out which is which. I just know the green one is lazy.
Lazy and, I don't know, some of the ways he talks about money are actually a little unsettling to hear from what's supposed to be a child.
Yeah, well, wait, what can you do? Anyway, give us a full synopsis.
Well, we have another 3 plot thing all coming together thing, so you kind of know our stance on that. No spoilers, though. And we'll talk about Huey has to go to the 3-man cookout for the Junior Woodchucks. I almost said something else. The Junior Woodchucks. And, of course, the Beagle Boys are thinking, well, it's going to be a lot easier to kidnap 1 kid as opposed to 4 kids. So Burger, who's no longer fat and can't talk for some reason, I guess that's better than being fat. And not big time... God, I don't remember the big one's name now.
Oh, that's just a big guy.
Yeah. They go infiltrate the Junior Woodchucks successfully, mind you, despite not being successful. I don't know. I kind of liked that. And eventually, well, Huey kind of treats them better than Big Time does. So they betray Big Time. And, it gets to that whole kind of creepy, one of us kind of vibe. Then smash cut to Louie, who is going to go to some rich kid's manor because, well, he wants to be with other rich people, and he's, in addition to lazy, also honestly greedier than Scrooge is in this series, quite honestly. And for those of you who remember the old episode, the old DuckTales, the rich kid is Doofus Drake, who, before kind of being your typical cartoon, like, okay, the fat doofus, wacky character kid, whatever, in this one is rich, fat, and batshit cuckoo to the point where his parents are, it's the whole, the kid is inherited the money or whatever, and the parents are like whipped slaves. We've kind of seen that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really uncomfortable. I'll give it that.
Yeah, so the fat rich kid was in the original series.
But he wasn't rich. He was just the fat, kooky sidekick.
Okay, and he wasn't a villain in those.
No, he was their friend.
So he's a villain in this one now.
Yeah. Okay. Or at least for now, unless they do some redemption thing. But like, this kid is messed up.
I don't know. I'm not really getting clues that he'll switch sides anytime
No, I'm
soon.
not. I'm just wondering how fans will react to their favorite. Well, I think a lot of people didn't like Doofus back in the day, but like, I don't know if now it's going to be like, you changed the character we hate. Why would you do that?
Knowing fan bases around the world these days, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think most people will be okay with it.
So Doofus calls Louie his friend present and locks him with a magnetic wristband that in some shots you're pretty sure he could have slipped his arm out. But Roger Rabbit logic, we can only when it's funny. And so then we did Huey, Louie, and that means Dewey. Dewey wants to do his own talk show host, bit a la Stephen Colbert, your late shows, what have you.
Conan's, all that stuff.
Kind of a few fun little nods, I think, to those if you're a fan of those shows.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me if you're ever a kid and you were just playing I know when I had like a tape recorder, I was a kid, I like tried to make my own like little radio show.
I've done similar things too, but I think I just yelled in the recorder and then sped up my voice and it sounded like a weird thing.
No, yeah, so this was something I think if you were ever a kid and you were fiddling around with somehow you got a hold of some sort of recording technology, you were like, before posting it to the internet and all that stuff, you're just like, I'm going to make my own talk show.
Oh, yeah. No,
because I saw mom and dad watch it.
That's very relatable.
That was actually very relatable. And honestly, probably the most kid thing I've seen these kids do in the series. And all the while, of course, Webby is sad because she's an only child, and for her, isn't having siblings, great. Why would you want to not be a part? She hacks. Oh, I forgot to mention, there's a new security robot for some reason. And she hacks into the robot and is trying to teach Dewey a lesson by essentially chasing him with the robot, threatening to kill him with a laser at one point. Want to throw it out there.
Well, she's nuts too.
She's quirky, Matt. She's not nuts. She's quirky. That's how we have to call it.
All right, fair enough.
But as soon as she climbs out of the robot snaps itself back together. And because she went around and was fiddling in there to make room for herself to hide in the robot is now actually going crazy and is now shooting them up. We all convene at Doofus's manor. They team up. They handle the different problems because it was, I guess, problems they couldn't do themselves, but as a team they could.
Yeah.
But they still did individually.
It's like counter personalities. Like their personalities weren't the solution to specific situations, so they just swapped around. And it's like, oh, this personality will solve this.
Yeah, and so they do. Like this episode, wraps up at the drop of a hat.
It does.
All three of these plot lines just are like, so we're good now, right? Okay, we're good. And ultimately, of course, they get back together, but not without pointing out that they still have a few hours left of Only Child Day, so that they still go with it.
2 hours.
2 hours. 2 hours.
Dewey made hard note about that.
Hard note. A hard note, ladies and gentlemen. And that's really kind of where our episode ends, more or less. Matt, your thoughts on the episode?
Well, while it was kind of like a very interesting episode, what I kind of don't like about it is that it felt like 2.5 episodes mixed into one, where I kind of liked the first part with the camp stuff, where I guess the big show, big guy, whatever, big boss.
Big time.
The
little one.
The little one was losing his lackeys to one of the ducks.
And some of the ways, because he was helping him make better traps for kidnapping him, some of the ways the cat traps kind of backfired on Big Time actually were kind of funny.
Yeah, I think I liked that storyline a little bit, and I was kind of hoping that the whole episode would focus on that. But then, quickly, the realized was like, oh, they follow his orders way too much to a T. They're like drones. Fuck it. There's no personal connection going to happen here. It's just going to be another wacky situation. Then it comes to the Doofus thing where I'm like, okay, that's a sudden jarring thing.
Yeah.
We're in a completely different episode now. As soon as I showed the bracelet thing, I was like, oh, that's going to shrink on him, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a cuff. That's not a... It's like one thing, it's like if you get a ring or a necklace.
He pulled that out of his pants, too.
Yeah. I was like...
Because there's one moment where he just pulls open his pants and is just looking down there, and I'm like, this is a children's show.
Yeah, no, they definitely up the creepiness, and he's like, I like to play with my friends, or something like that. He's some weird. I was like, okay. But yeah, it's like that storyline happened. I was like, yeah, this Doofus guy is kind of creepy. And then we cut to the Colbert thing, which I personally thought that was the most jarring thing. Even though, yes, it was very relatable, it felt very out of place, tonally.
Especially after the last two.
Yeah, and I was like... I kind of feel like this was like a weird intermission. And it was fun too because we were watching on demand, and who was that again? The blue one?
Dewey.
What? Whatever. The blue one.
The blue one.
I thought Dewey was the green one, but whatever.
Louie is the green one.
Okay, well, I'm getting my names mixed up then. Thank you. Yeah, he does this thing where he runs something, he presses a button, then all of a sudden commercials come up, and I was like, wait, what the...
Oh, yeah, that was great timing.
That fucking threw me off, and I was like, what the hell? And then it just suddenly cuts back to, I was like, okay, it was cute, but it was also weird, because we were skipping the commercials to speed this up. Anyway, I just thought that was a little out of place, a little bit of a waste of time, but I can see where the plot kind of trickled in there a little bit.
It kind of felt like they didn't have anything for Dewey to do.
Yeah, so they're just like, just have him do this. It was cute, but kind of felt like a time filler to me.
Yeah, his is definitely the least. If you were to take these three plots and make them their own individual episodes, this is the one I think it just wouldn't... You wouldn't have enough to go with.
No, it's very boring. I think it would have been more interesting if we saw Dewey just kind of doing his thing around the mansion, but then always get this creepy factor that someone's watching him, hence Webby or the security bot thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it wraps up all in the end, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I don't know. I thought it was an okay episode. Kind of felt messy to me.
Yeah, it's another one of those. We got all these different plot points as opposed to just one episode with one plot.
Also, can we be a little topical here for a second? There was this one shot that both me and Mark reacted oddly to. And it was at the very beginning when they were at the camp and the two Beagle boys was saying something and Big Time was like, oh, here's an idea. He raises his hand and then we have like an off-screen slap.
I don't get why that's... Is cartoon violence too violent these days?
I mean, it's a little controversial, but I remember there was a time where, like, I'm trying to think specifically what, like maybe Justice League or the original Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Even the Powerpuff Girls, when you watch action on those shows, you notice that every time a character does a punch, there'd be like 2 frames of flash and you don't actually see the actual contact.
Yeah.
But you kind of get the impact of the flash to imply that there's been a contact. And that was kind of like their way of getting around violence on TV. It's like, you don't actually see me punching Mark in the face. You just see hand before the cheek, flash, and then hand past the cheek.
Yeah, and then just, the character falling back or something.
But then I feel like nowadays with TV censors, and I don't know much about it, but I'm guessing it's like they're starting to become more and more nitpicky about that shit. Or people become more afraid where it's like, oh, don't show Big Time actually slapping his brothers. Just show the hand in like an awkward stick. Cause
he didn't even go back with the anticipation of the action. He kind of just raised his hand like he was raising a question. And then it just cuts to this.
It's like sky
shot. It doesn't even, and you don't even really hear like the smack or the pow or something. And like,
just hear like a weird
I think
thud.
when we even cut back to them, it's not like, maybe if they had like bumps on their heads or something, maybe it would have read better. But it didn't. It did not read well as a scene or anything.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the weakest thing, and part of me just feels like it's just the TV executives trying to like censor themselves because of cartoon violence, and it's like.
But we've had like the bumbling henchman getting smacked around a little by the short-tempered boss like for ages now, and I don't think.
No, I guess that specific situation of someone actually physically slapping you for doing something wrong, or because a person does. I guess it's like some rooted abuse.
Like, I get it, but at the same time, I don't get it.
Shit like that takes me out of the shows sometimes.
Well, especially just like with what we said, like, we don't have a problem if you don't want to like really just like show them like going to town on these guys, sure. But like the way it was done as opposed to ways it's been done tastefully in the past just seemed odd.
Yeah. But they could have done the Powerpuff Girl thing where it's like the Flash.
Yeah, it's like, if you want to go even further back, it's like the Batman like TV show where it was like the punch and it was like the pow thing popped up or something, It's really that stuff, and this just was really awkwardly done.
Now, we're not saying the pow thing coming up on the TV show Ducktales would have looked good, but you get what we're saying.
Yeah,
just some kind of cutaway that actually makes sense to what was happening.
It implies the action happened without showing the action.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think we touched about it really quick earlier though, like the Junior Woodchuck camping thing. At the first, I was like, okay, this is going to be a Huey episode with him dealing with the fact that his brothers aren't around because he was the one who was against the whole thing.
Yeah.
And like with the Beagle Boys, I was like, okay, this is funny. If we're going to do this for an episode, I'm down with that. But then we don't. And then I think that could have been its own episode. Honestly, you could have had even the Louie one with the doofus be an episode. You could have even had all 3 of them in there and just had to be like, they went on a play date with this one weird kid. And like, I think some of us have been there. We're just like, okay, this is getting weird. Kind of want to go home now. And then you just up it. The creep factor is like, oh, you can't go home, friend.
Yeah.
Just like some Children of the Corn, those twins at the end of the hallway in The Shining kind of thing, just like, okay, nope, creepy kid.
Stephen King style.
Yeah, just like really had fun with it. But it's like, no, it's kind of just, I think like those 2 things could have been their own episodes and they kind of just, in this sense, feel like just blips on the radar.
Oh, definitely for sure. Because like I said, with the Dewey one, the camp one, like I kind of like the idea. It's like, oh yeah, you have these 2 Beagle boys who actually appreciate and follow what he says. Granted, they might take him too literally in some senses, but it kind of would like be a good opportunity for reflection on like how much of like the brains of the outfit is Dewey comfortable with being.
Yeah.
Like taken away from their individuality. It's just something interesting could have been there, but it's a cartoon.
Even just doing a thing where it's like, it's like the regular like, Ralph, you are a bad guy. This does not mean you are a bad guy or something. It's just kind of... There's fun ideas in this episode that I think we agree just weren't flushed out, and I think it comes from the fact that we had to have 3 ideas in here instead of 1. And I mean, call us old-fashioned. We grew up in a time where it was like, okay, kids, here's your characters, here's the plot of this episode, we're going with it, as opposed to trying to do the multi-branch thing.
Yeah.
Especially in a 30-minute show. Like, if maybe this was like live action shows, you can get away with that, I think, more when they're like an hour. It's not an hour, but like commercials.
And we also grew up in a time where each episode was 11 minutes long.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily a half hour.
No.
So, and if we were able to get a pretty solid, concise story with 11 minutes, it's almost no excuse to not be able to do that nowadays.
No, it's not. But like, I don't think we hated the episode.
No, we did not.
I think our biggest complaints comes from, like, you had these two really good stories that could have just been their own episodes, and we could have had a lot more fun with if you just focused on those stories.
I agree.
Okay, well,
the only other thing that I think we could point out, which is not really a nitpick or a pro, we saw Doofus's house, and we were like, kids next door.
Oh yeah, no, this is definitely there's the house. Then you pan up and there's this big tree shooting out of it. We're like, someone watched Codename Kids Next Door as a kid or worked on it or something.
Oh, for sure did. I'm sure that was probably like an unintentional thing, but if it's not, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, it'll be, if you've seen Codename Kids Next Door, you'll see that and you'll get a good chuckle out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, tune in next week, everybody. Well, tune in next time when we'll be reviewing episode 10. This is episode 16, Matt. How can we review episode 10? You've ruined the show.
Well, we have different thoughts after
now I'm going to have to raise my hand awkwardly, and we're going to cut away to a weird shot.
In an audio show.
In an audio show, yeah. So join us next time when we'll be reviewing episode 17 of Ducktales, from the confidential case files of Agent 22. Ooh. That actually sounds interesting.
I have no idea what that is, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So, to being continued, everybody.